Easter, everybody. I'm going to show you a story today called Wonderful Jesus. And I'm not going to read you the whole book. I'm just going to read you the part of the book that talks about Easter because this is Easter Sunday. And we're celebrating a wonderful thing that happened to Jesus on this day. Now, we can't go to our churches today or visit a new church or anything like that because, the sickness, the coronavirus. We're being safe and staying home. But that doesn't stop Easter from happening. We can celebrate in our own homes because we're celebrating Jesus and what he did on Easter. Just like at Christmas, we celebrate Jesus being born. And remember, we study about how he went to Bethlehem, Mary and Joseph, his mom and dad. And while they were there was no room in the hotel or the show and tell that they wanted to stay in. And the innkeeper told them they could stay in the barn, which was in the back. Back then, a lot of times people had barns for their animals. And while they were there, Jesus was born, and he was put in a manger, which is a feeding box for animals like horses and cows. And they made him comfortable and warm amongst a bunch of hay, food from the animals. And the angels came in the sky and told the shepherds, Jesus is born. Rush to see him. And so they did with their sheep and worshiped Jesus and visited with Mary and Joseph, had a really good time, and then ran out and told lots of people all the good news. Well, Christmas, we celebrate that every year, don't we? And Easter, the same. Another special day when we celebrate Jesus. Only a different reason we celebrate this time. And Jesus and God, they don't change. They're still here no matter if there's a coronavirus or not. So let's have a little lesson today about Palm Sunday and Easter. Now, if we had gone to church last week, we would have talked about Palm Sunday. Palm is a type of branch from a tree that you would see in like near Disney World or in other warm places like where Moana lives. And it's a kind of branch that you can pluck off of a tree. And back then, people used to wave them to show respect. Now, if we go to a race and we're cheering on our mommies or daddy or grandpa, whoever, we don't usually wave a branch around, do we? Or some leaves or whatever. We probably have a sign we might hold up, or maybe we have a bell we ring, or a noisemaker we might blow on, or something to get, attention to cheer. And we clap, right? But they had branches. I brought a branch. It's not a palm branch, but it's one from my yard. And it's from like a type of evergreen tree. And they waved them like, yay, Jesus. Because Jesus came in that day on a donkey. This picture on the front of the book is showing him on that donkey and people waving palm branches, see? There's also a picture in the book of it. This is a pop-up book. And so here we go. Let's turn it around so you can see it. Pop. It's kind of hard for me to show you every picture because of the video, but you can see. There's Jesus. He was sitting on a donkey, and there's people all around him with those branches that are called palm branches. Some little ones. Here's a mom carrying a little guy. Oops, right up here. And he has a branch sort of like the size of Malachi. Maybe that would be how your mom would dress if she lived back then. Boys. But here's all these people, and they're so excited because Jesus was coming in town the week before Easter, and he was riding on a donkey, and they were happy. They loved him. You know why they loved Jesus so much? Well, he wasn't a baby anymore, as you can see. Many years had gone by, and now he was about 33 years old, and he had been on earth, and he had been telling everyone about God and how much God loved them, and he was doing nice things for people and teaching them the way they should act, how they should be nice to each other, how they shouldn't be angry all the time, how they could look for ways to help people, that kind of thing. And he also had been doing some amazing things, like if someone was sick, maybe they couldn't see at all, he had a special way of touching them and they could see all better. Or some men couldn't walk and he made them be able to walk again. He was doing wonderful things like that. Have you ever been around someone that you just really love to be around? Maybe they weren't curing everybody, making everybody better, but they were just really a neat person. They listened to you when you talked. They they told you ideas that they were thinking of that were fun, or something that taught you something new. Um, they like to have fun with you. They were smiling a lot, and you just kind of wanted to be around them. I was thinking about when we were at Disney World, and I noticed that a lot of you kids wanted to be around Uncle Drew. Of course, it's Willa's daddy, and she likes to be around him. But Uncle Drew was pretty popular, wasn't he? And our mommies, too. We like to be around them. Well, Jesus was like that. Oop. He was very well loved. And even though, he was like that, and yet even more so, because he was God. And he did amazing things, and everybody loved him. And so when Palm Sunday came and he came into the town of Jerusalem, they said, "Yay, Jesus! Blessed is he." That means he's from God, and we are so thankful he's here. Thank you, Jesus. And they waved their branches. Well, later that week, some men that were not very nice had gotten together for a while and been planning. They said they didn't like Jesus. They didn't believe him. They didn't think he was from God. They didn't like the way he talked. And they just had hard hearts, and they couldn't understand that Jesus was love. Love just flowed out of him. They couldn't accept it. And a very sad thing happened. They arranged for him to be killed. And that was a very sad day. But here's the good part. After this wonderful week, or day of palms, and the sad end of the week when he died, another thing happened. Easter Sunday happened. And this is what happened. They took his body, I'm going to show you the rest of these pictures later, and they put it in a tomb. That means in this case it was like a cave, and they have a big white round heavy stone. It was very heavy. Not one man could move it. It took a lot of men. It's right here in front of the tomb, and in this book that has pop-ups and moving things, you pull this away and look inside, and it's empty. If you want to pretend this at home, I'm going to attempt to show you something. You could set up like a box, or I have a big basket here, and I covered it with a big blanket, and then I put a pillow in front of it, and then what happened on Easter Sunday is that stone, an angel came and rolled it away, and you look inside, it's empty. There's nothing in there. And if you use a box, there's going to be nothing in your box. And it's just a fun way to remember that Jesus rose from the dead. And he is not dead. He is alive. And that is the amazing story of Easter. Now, when he came back to life, where did he go? Well, he visited some of the women that had grown to love him and were very sad, and he made their day. When they saw he was alive, they couldn't believe it. In fact, one of them rushed to tell his disciples, that is the 12 men that he had been teaching and walking with and learning with for several years. And they were in their house and they were sad, and this woman rushed and said, "You've got to come and see, Jesus is alive." And the guys were like, "What? I just don't get this. How can that be?" But two of them, John and Peter, rushed to see if this was true, because they were just like, "Oh my goodness, this would be the best thing in the world if Jesus was alive." And sure enough, they got to that tomb that I showed you it was in the garden, and there's no Jesus. Well, did they see him later? Yeah, they did. They saw him another day, shortly after. And one of the days the disciples had been fishing all night, and a man stood on the beach cooking breakfast. Now, several of these men, these disciples, these friends of Jesus, had been fishermen before they were Jesus' disciples. They took a break from their job of fishing, just like Carolyn is a scientist. Drew is a computer, works with computers. Meredith used to work at the library and wants to continue to do something in that area. They had a job, and their job was catching fish to feed people. So they had gone back to fishing. And they fished all night and hadn't caught a single fish. And these are men that used to do it for a living. And all of a sudden, they saw this man on the shore from where their boat was in the water, and they saw a man, and the man called out and said, "Have you caught any fish?" And they answered, "No, nothing, not a thing." And he said, "Well, take your net, this big fishing net, and throw it on the right side of the boat." Well, guess what happened? When they did, they took their nets out of the water on the one side, threw it on the other side, and they couldn't believe the number of fish. They were pulling this net in, and it was so heavy, it was almost broke. It didn't, but it almost broke. As they pulled in all these fish, it was amazing. And when that happened, it was like a miracle. No fish to millions of fish. They knew right away, that man on the shore, that's gotta be Jesus. And they rushed to see him because they knew. Now they knew it was him. Here are the guys in the boat. I don't know if you can see everything, but they have a lot of fish on this side of the boat here. And they're rushing and waving, and one of them jumped out of the boat to swim back to Jesus, if you can see that. And then here's Jesus on the shore. And he's cooking some fish for breakfast. And of course, they probably used some of their fish too and made more, so there was enough for everyone. But Jesus was there. And he spent time with them, and he had breakfast with them. And they talked and laughed, and they were just so thrilled to be with Jesus again. And he appeared to them some more times for a few weeks, I guess is what they say. And then he had to go up to heaven so he could be with God, and that's where he is today. But he's alive. He is alive, and that is the message of Easter, that if we believe in him, we don't have to be afraid or worried or burdened by when we do something wrong, thinking, "Oh, I blew it. I'm never going to be a good person. I'm nobody." No. If we do something wrong and we say we're sorry and we say, "Jesus, I really want you to be my God. I want you to help me to live the kind of life I should live. Show me how to be kind to people, and show me how to love my mom and dad and brothers or sisters or dogs or whoever, friends. Show me how to live the way you want me to." And he will, because he died on the cross to show us his great love, and then to show us that he didn't stay dead. He came back to life. Whoops, I have my book turned around. And there's a few more questions that you might have, but ask Mom and Dad to explain it better to you. But the wonderful message of Easter is that he is alive. He came to earth to show us his love and to die and come back to life and show us that we can always trust that he'll be with us. And that's wonderful news. And it's Wonderful Jesus, the name of this book. Happy Easter!